My name is Emily Harper. I'm 32. 2 hours ago, at 4:47 p.m. on November 23rd, I was standing in the cottage I'd lived in for 8 years, while my father Robert held a clipboard and my mother Susan watched from the doorway, and my father said, "You need to sign this move-out agreement by midnight tonight or we're filing eviction papers tomorrow morning." The cottage sits on family land worth $410,000. The land my grandmother left to all of us. The land I'd been living on since I was 24, paying utilities, maintaining the property, replanting the garden every spring. No lease, no formal agreement, just family. Dad, I don't understand. You said we'd talk about this after Thanksgiving. Plans changed. He didn't look at me. He was looking at the papers. We have a buyer. They want vacant land. That means empty. But I live here. Exactly. My mother's voice was soft. It always was. Sweetheart, you're 32. It's time you found your own place. This is a business decision. A business decision. I repeated it slowly. This is our family's land. And as a family, we've decided to sell. My father's voice was flat, final. Lauren agrees. Your mother agrees. The vote is 3-1. My older sister Lauren stood behind them in the driveway. She wouldn't come inside. She never did anymore. She just stood there, arms crossed, staring at her phone. "Lauren, you agree with this?" I called out. She looked up for half a second. It's not personal. It's just, they need the money. And you'll figure something out. You always do." My father thrust the clipboard toward me. "Sign by midnight. The buyer's waiting. If the property isn't vacant by December 15th, the deal falls through and we lose $410,000. Where am I supposed to go in 3 weeks? That's not our problem." My father's words were ice. "You've had 8 years of free housing. Consider it paid back." My mother touched his arm gently. "Robert, maybe we could help her with first month's rent somewhere." "She makes $15 an hour cleaning houses, Susan. She can afford a studio apartment." That's when something inside me went very still. $15 an hour. He said it like it was all I'd ever be. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 7 years to the last time I saw Aunt Evelyn before she became estranged from the family. I was 25, working 3 cleaning jobs, coming home to the cottage every night smelling like bleach and floor polish. Aunt Evelyn showed up one Tuesday afternoon without calling first. She was my father's older sister, and they hadn't spoken in 2 years over something nobody would explain to me. She was sitting on my porch steps when I got home at 6:30 p.m., holding 2 cups of coffee from the place on Maple Street that makes them exactly the way I like them. Extra cream, 2 sugars, cinnamon on top. "Heard you were cleaning the Morrison estate," she said. "No hello, just facts." That was Aunt Evelyn. 3 times a week. I sat down next to her, took the coffee. "They're nice people. Pay on time." "Your father know you're doing this?" "He knows I clean houses." "Does he know you're good at it?" I laughed. It came out bitter. "He knows I'm a maid." Aunt Evelyn looked at me for a long time. The sunset was turning everything orange and gold. I remember because it made her silver hair look copper. "Emily Harper," she said slowly, "you're going to do something with your life that's going to make people very uncomfortable. Because you're going to succeed in a way they didn't predict. And that's going to reveal all the little lies they've been telling themselves about who you are." "I clean toilets, Aunt Ev. For now." She handed me an envelope. "This is $15,000. It's not a loan. It's not a gift. It's an investment in whatever you decide to build. And when you build it, don't tell anyone until it's too big to ignore." I opened the envelope. Inside was a cashier's check and a business card for a lawyer named Martin Reeves. "Why are you doing this?" "Because your grandmother asked me to," Before she died, she said, "Evelyn, watch Emily. She's got something the others don't. She sees what needs doing, and she does it." And she was right. Aunt Evelyn stood up. "Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll use it." "I promise." "Good." She started walking to her car, then turned back. "And Emily, when they try to take things from you later, and they will, remember this moment. Remember that someone believed in you when you were scrubbing floors." That was the last time I saw her for 3 years. My father forbade her from family gatherings. My mother said it was complicated. And Lauren said Aunt Evelyn was always causing drama, but I kept that check. And 6 months later, I filed the paperwork for Willow Creek Estate Services, LLC. The first betrayal came 2 years after that conversation with Aunt Evelyn. I was 27. I'd been building my property management business quietly, managing estates for wealthy families who spent half the year traveling. I had 6 clients. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't broke anymore either. I kept living in the cottage, kept driving my old Honda, kept dressing in jeans and work boots. Nobody asked what I did, so I didn't tell them. Thanksgiving 2021. The whole family gathered at my parents' house on Rosewood Drive, 23 people. Turkey at 3 p.m. sharp. Lauren was showing off her new position as head nurse at County General. My father kept saying, "That's my daughter, saving lives." My mother beamed. When they got to me, the conversation just stopped. "And Emily?" my Uncle Frank asked. "What are you up to these days?" "I manage properties." My father laughed, actually laughed. "She cleans houses, Frank. Let's not dress it up." My face burned so hot I could feel my pulse in my teeth. "I have clients," I said quietly. "I manage their estates when they travel." "Sure you do, honey." My mother patted my hand. The gesture made it worse. "It's honest work, nothing to be ashamed of." Lauren didn't say anything. She just looked uncomfortable and changed the subject to her new condo. I left early, drove back to the cottage, sat in my car for 40 minutes before going inside. That was the first time I realized they'd decided who I was, and nothing I said would change their minds. Over the next 3 years, I built Willow Creek Estate Services into something real. I hired my first employee in 2022, a woman named Rosie who'd been cleaning houses for 30 years and knew every trick. Then Marcus, who handled landscaping, then Denise for bookkeeping. By 2023, I had 8 full-time employees. We managed 14 luxury estates across 3 counties. I wasn't just cleaning anymore. I was coordinating maintenance, hiring contractors, managing budgets, dealing with property insurance, handling emergency repairs at 2 a.m. when a pipe burst. The revenue for 2024 was $2.3 million. I still lived in the cottage on family land, still drove the Honda, still wore work boots, and my family still introduced me as the one who cleans houses. The public humiliation came in June 2025, 6 months ago. I was at Morrison Estate, meeting with a potential client named Nathan Price. He owned a property in Belmont Hills and was interviewing property management companies. Big contract, $180,000 annually if we got it. We were standing in the Morrison's marble foyer, discussing security systems and seasonal maintenance schedules, when my mother walked in. She was friends with Mrs. Morrison. They played bridge together on Thursdays. "Emily!" My mother's voice was bright, surprised. "I didn't know you were working today." "I'm in a meeting, Mom." She looked at Nathan, then at me, then back at Nathan. "Oh, she's very thorough. We're so proud of her work ethic. She's been cleaning houses since she was 24. Nathan's expression shifted slightly, professional, but I saw it. "Actually," I said carefully, "I'm the CEO of Willow Creek Estate Services. I'm here to present our management proposal to Mr. Price." My mother laughed. It was light, dismissive. "Oh, sweetheart, you don't have to exaggerate." "I'm not exaggerating. Emily's always been imaginative, my mother said to Nathan. Ever since she was little. Big dreams. It's sweet, really. Something clicked inside me then. Not anger. Colder than that. Mr. Price, I said evenly. I apologize for the interruption. Should we continue in the study? Nathan looked between us, uncomfortable. Actually, I have your proposal. Let me review it and get back to you by Friday. He left. Mrs. Morrison appeared from the kitchen. Susan, I think there's been some confusion. Emily isn't here to clean. She manages my properties. Has for 2 years. She's exceptional. My mother's smile faltered. Oh, I didn't realize. Clearly. I walked out, got in my car, drove back to the office, called Nathan at 4:15 p.m. Mr. Price, I apologize for this afternoon. No need. His voice was kind. Your mother seems proud. She doesn't know what I do. Why not? Because I stopped telling them 3 years ago. There was a pause. Then, the proposal is solid. You have the contract. Send me the paperwork. I hung up and cried for 20 minutes in my office. Not sad crying, releasing something. That night, I started looking for apartments. Something told me I needed to be ready to leave the cottage. 2 weeks later, I found the first clue. I was cleaning out the cottage's storage closet, looking for old tax documents, when I found a box shoved in the back corner. Water-stained cardboard. Dusty. The handwriting on top said, Estate Documents, 2012. Inside were photocopies of my grandmother's will. The original one, before she died in 2014. It said the land was to be divided equally among her 3 children, my father Robert, my uncle Frank, and my aunt Evelyn. But there was a clause, a specific one. In the event that any grandchild is residing on the property at the time of my death, they shall have right of first refusal for purchase or lifetime tenancy at fair market rent, provided they maintain the property. I'd been living here since 2017. I'd been here when she died. I read it 3 times. Then I called the county clerk's office, asked for the recorded will. They sent me the PDF. The clause was gone. Someone had filed a revised will, dated 2 months before her death. No mention of grandchildren. No right of first refusal. I looked at the signature. It was notarized by someone named Patricia Vance. I paid $45 for a notary lookup. Patricia Vance didn't exist. The license number was fake. My hands were shaking when I put the papers down. My father had forged my grandmother's will. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. I made copies. Stored them in 3 different places. One at my office, one in a safety deposit box at First National, one with my lawyer, Martin Reeves, the man Aunt Evelyn had introduced me to 7 years ago. Then I waited. The villain escalation came in October, 4 weeks ago. My father showed up at my office, unannounced, 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Rosie let him in. She didn't know any better. He stood in my office doorway, looking around, taking in the desk, the computer, the wall of framed client contracts. So this is real, he said. Yes. How much do you make? That's not your business. How much, Emily? Enough. He sat down without being invited. We need to sell the land. The market's good right now. We have a buyer offering $410,000 cash, but they want it vacant, clean slate. I live there. You're 32 years old. You can afford your own place. He gestured around the office. Clearly. Grandma's will said I had right of first refusal. The will said no such thing. The original did. His face changed, hardened. What are you talking about? I found a copy from 2012 before the revision. That's not valid. The 2014 version is the legal document. The 2014 version was notarized by someone who doesn't exist. Silence. You need to sign the move-out agreement, Emily. This sale is happening. with or without your cooperation. And if I don't? Then we file eviction. And you have a very public legal battle where you accuse your own father of fraud. How do you think that looks for your little business?" He left. I sat there for 2 hours staring at the wall. That's when Martin Reeves called. "Emily, I just received something at my office, hand-delivered, from Evelyn Whitaker." "Aunt Evelyn?" "She asked me to give this to you when the time was right. I think the time is now. Can you come by this afternoon?" I drove to Martin's office on Hawthorne Street, third floor, corner suite. He was waiting with a manila envelope sealed with red wax. "She gave this to me 3 months ago. Said, when Robert tries to force Emily off that land, give her this, not before. She needs to know what she's capable of first." "How did she know?" "Evelyn knows your father better than anyone." Martin handed me the envelope. "Read this alone, then call me." I went back to my office, locked the door, opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a letter, handwritten on cream-colored paper, and underneath it, a stack of documents. The letter read, "Dear Emily, if you're reading this, then Robert has done exactly what I knew he would do. He's trying to force you off the land. He's using that fake will, and he's counting on you being too scared or too broke or too nice to fight back. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried talking to him. I tried reasoning with your mother. Susan just enables him. Lauren doesn't have the spine to stand up to them. So I did what I could do. I prepared. Do you remember that day I gave you the check? I said you'd build something that would make them uncomfortable. You did. Willow Creek Estate Services is proof you were never what they said you were. The original will is with Martin. He has the actual document from 2012, witnessed and properly notarized. I kept a copy locked in my attorney's safe for 11 years, waiting for this. But here's what Robert doesn't know. I bought out Frank's share of the land in 2016. Paid him $135,000. Frank was in debt. Robert needed the money for Lauren's nursing school, and I made them an offer. So now the land is owned by 2 people, Robert and me, not 3. 2. And under Oregon property law, any co-owner can block a sale if they don't consent. I'm not consenting. The documents in this envelope. The original 2012 will with your right of first refusal. The deed showing I own 50% of the property. A forensic analysis of the 2014 will proving the signature was forged. Bank records showing Frank's loan from me, a notarized statement from Frank confirming the sale, security footage from the county clerk's office showing Robert filing the fake will. I had a private investigator follow him, M. I know that sounds dramatic, but I watched him destroy your grandmother's legacy once. I wasn't letting him do it to you. You're not the maid. You're the woman who built a $2.3 million company from a $15,000 investment. You're the woman who manages estates worth more than most people make in a lifetime. You're the woman your grandmother believed in. Martin will file the injunction. The sale will stop, and Robert will face the consequences of what he did. Hold your head up, little star. You were never small. All my love, Aunt Evelyn. I read it 4 times. Then I looked at the documents. Every single thing she'd promised was there. Official, notarized, documented. The forensic analysis was 40 pages long. It compared the signature on the 2014 will to my grandmother's actual signature. The analyst's conclusion was clear. The signature on the revised will shows evidence of tracing and unnatural hesitation marks consistent with forgery. The security footage was time-stamped. April 3, 2014, 2:17 p.m. My father, walking into the county clerk's office with a manila envelope. I called Martin at 5:30 p.m. I read it. "What do you want to do?" "I want to file the injunction. I want to stop the sale, and I want to be there when he finds out." "When?" "Thanksgiving. He invited me. He probably wants to make sure I sign the papers before the family." "Emily, that's bold." "He called me a maid in front of 14 people last year." I think it's time for the truth. 3 days before Thanksgiving, my father called me at 9:47 p.m. You coming on Thursday? Yes. You signing the papers? We'll talk about it there. Emily, don't make this difficult. See you at 3 o'clock, Dad. I hung up. That night I printed copies of every document, put them in a folder, rehearsed what I'd say in the mirror until I sounded calm instead of angry. Rosie asked me if I was okay. I told her I was about to do something terrifying. Good, she said. Terrifying usually means necessary. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and clear. I got to my parents' house at 2:45 p.m. The driveway was full. 14 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. Lauren opened the door. Em, I'm glad you came. Listen, about the land thing, I really think you should just. Where's Dad? Kitchen. Mom's freaking out about the turkey. I walked in. The house smelled like sage and roasted garlic and pumpkin pie. Everyone was dressed nicely, sweaters and slacks and dresses. I was wearing jeans and a work jacket. I'd done that on purpose. My father saw me and his jaw tightened. Emily, good. We can sign the papers after dinner. Sure. Dinner was awkward. People kept trying to make conversation. I answered in short sentences. My mother kept watching me nervously. At 4:30 p.m., we moved to the living room for dessert and coffee. That's when my father stood up with his wine glass. I want to make a toast, he said. Everyone quieted down. This has been a challenging year for our family, but we're all here together. We're grateful for our blessings. He looked around the room. Susan and I are blessed with 2 daughters. One is a head nurse at County General, saving lives every day. Everyone clapped. Lauren smiled. The other one, well, Emily works hard. She cleans houses. She makes an honest living. A few people nodded politely. I saw pity in their eyes. And we're teaching Emily an important lesson this year about responsibility and standing on her own 2 feet. She's 32 now. Time to move out of the family cottage and… Actually, I said quietly, I'd like to say something. My father frowned. Emily, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I stood up. My hands weren't shaking. I'd practiced this. You said I clean houses. That's not accurate. Emily, please don't. I'm the CEO of Willow Creek Estate Services. We're a property management company. Last year's revenue was $2.3 million. I have 12 full-time employees. We manage 17 luxury estates across 3 counties. The room went completely silent. My mother's coffee cup stopped halfway to her mouth. That's not possible, my father said. It's documented. I have contracts, tax returns, business licenses, client testimonials, and a feature article in Portland Business Journal from March. Nathan Price, who I'd invited as my guest, spoke up from the corner. I can confirm. Emily's company manages 3 of my properties. She's exceptional, professional, worth every penny of the $180,000 annual contract. My father's face was turning red. Why didn't you tell us? I did. 3 years ago at Thanksgiving. You laughed and said I was just a maid, so I stopped trying to correct you. My mother stood up. Emily, sweetheart, you're embarrassing us. No, Mom, you've been embarrassing me for 7 years, and now we're going to talk about the land. We have a buyer, my father said sharply. The sale is happening. You need to move out by December 15th. The sale isn't happening. Yes, it is. We have a contract. You need consent from all property owners. You don't have it. Frank sold his share to me in 2019. No. I pulled out the folder. Frank sold his share to Aunt Evelyn in 2016 for $135,000. I have the deed, notarized and recorded with the county. Aunt Evelyn owns 50% of that land, and she's not consenting to the sale. My father's expression changed. Panic. That's not possible. Evelyn wouldn't… She did, and that's not all. I pulled out the forensic report. The will you filed in 2014? The one that removed Grandma's clause about my right of first refusal? It's a forgery. The signature was traced. The notary doesn't exist. And there's security footage of you filing it at the county clerk's office on April 3rd, 2014 at 2:17 p.m. Dead silence. My Uncle Frank was staring at my father. Robert, you forged Mom's will? I don't know what Emily's talking about. I have the original from 2012, witnessed by Aunt Evelyn and Frank, properly notarized by Laura Chen, license number 847392, and I have the fake one, notarized by Patricia Vance, license number 003847, who doesn't exist. I checked. There's never been a notary in Oregon with that name or number. My mother sat down hard. Robert, tell me this isn't true. Susan, this is ridiculous. Tell me. The front door opened. Aunt Evelyn walked in, calm and elegant. She was carrying a magazine, Portland Business Journal. She handed it to Nathan. Page 38, she said. Feature article on emerging businesses in property management. There's a photo. Nathan opened it, turned to the page, read aloud. Emily Harper, 32, CEO of Willow Creek Estate Services, started her company with a $15,000 investment from a family member. In just 5 years, she's built a business that generated $2.3 million in revenue last year and employs 12 people. Harper credits her work ethic and attention to detail, honed during her early years working as a house cleaner. He held up the magazine. There I was, professional headshot, standing in front of Morrison Estate. My father looked like he'd been hit. Evelyn, you're not supposed to be here. I'm co-owner of that land, Robert. I go where I want. She turned to me. Did you bring the injunction? I pulled it out. Filed yesterday at 4 p.m. with County Court. Judge Morrison signed it at 9 a.m. this morning. The sale is blocked pending investigation of the fraudulent will. My father's voice was desperate now. The buyer is waiting. If this sale doesn't go through, I lose the deposit. I lose $25,000. You should have thought of that before you committed forgery, Aunt Evelyn said coldly. Lauren finally spoke. Her voice was small. Dad, did you really forge Grandma's will? He didn't answer. Robert? My mother's hands were trembling. Answer her. I needed the money. It burst out of him. Angry? Defensive? Lauren's nursing school was $90,000. Frank was drowning in gambling debts. Emily was just cleaning houses. She didn't need it. So I adjusted the will to be more fair. Fair? I repeated. Fair? You stole my right to stay on the land Grandma wanted me to have. You were a maid. I was building a business, and you were so busy looking down on me that you didn't notice. My father turned to the room. You all heard her. She's been lying to us for years, hiding her income, pretending to struggle when she was making millions. I wasn't pretending. My voice was steady, calm. I told you what I did. You chose not to listen. And I didn't hide anything. I filed taxes. I registered my business publicly. I just stopped trying to make you see me. Nathan spoke again. Mr. Harper, I've worked with Emily for 6 months. She's honest, professional, and highly competent. If you couldn't see that, that's your failure, not hers. My father looked around the room. One by one, people were looking away from him. My Uncle Frank stood up and walked out. 2 cousins followed him. My mother was crying quietly. How could you forge your own mother's will? Susan, I did it for this family. You did it for yourself. She turned to me. Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have asked. I should have listened. I know, Mom. Aunt Evelyn put her hand on my shoulder. Emily's not asking for revenge. She's asking for what's rightfully hers. The land stays in the family, Emily keeps her home, and Robert faces the consequences. I looked at my father. He looked smaller somehow, defeated. I don't want to press criminal charges, I said quietly. But I want the original will restored. I want my right of first refusal honored, and I want you to acknowledge out loud that I'm not a maid." He stared at me for a long time. "You're not a maid. And? You're the CEO of a successful company." "Thank you." I picked up my folder, looked at Nathan. "Ready to go?" He nodded. We walked out together. Aunt Evelyn followed. Behind us, I could hear my mother's voice, sharp and breaking. "How could you, Robert? How could you do this to our daughter?" I didn't wait for his answer. 4 weeks later, the county officially voided the 2014 will and restored the 2012 version. I exercised my right of first refusal and bought the cottage and the acre it sits on from the family estate for $85,000, fair market value for that portion. My father moved out of my parents' house. He and my mother are separated. She calls me once a week. We're working on it. Lauren sent me a long apology email. "We had coffee last week." She said, "I knew Dad was lying about something. I just didn't want to look." "I know," I said. "It's easier not to look." Aunt Evelyn came by the cottage yesterday. We sat on the porch with coffee, exactly like 7 years ago. "You did good, little star. You did all the work. I prepared the ammunition. You fired it." She smiled. "Your grandmother would be proud." I wish she could see this. She can, wherever she is. 6 months from now, I'll be expanding Willow Creek Estate Services into commercial properties. I've hired 3 more employees. We're on track for $3.1 million in revenue this year. I still drive the Honda, still wear work boots. But now, when people ask what I do, I tell them the truth. And if they don't believe me, I let them figure it out on their own. If you're reading this and you've ever been called something you're not, and you've ever been seen as less than you are, remember this. People's refusal to see you doesn't change who you are. It just reveals who they are. And sometimes the quietest revenge is simply succeeding while they weren't paying attention. If you've ever walked away from people who refuse to see your worth, type "I chose myself" in the comments. Or if you stayed and proved them wrong, type "I stood my ground." Both are brave. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.